Okay, so we're going to be making a syrup sponge, a syrup pudding, sorry. So you need some golden syrup, about 70p in Aldi's, 3 eggs, flour, caster sugar and butter. So I've got 175 grams of butter. Don't want the time there though. I've got 110 grams of soft brown soft caster sugar. You can use normal. I just happen to have some soft brown stuff in my cupboard, so, and 175 grams of flour. Okay. Right, so on top of your 175 grams of margarine for your actual cake, we also need a fair bit just to grease the basin, because we're going to steam this, and there's a few different ways of doing that. I'll show you one method. So it needs to be nice, well greased. Okay. So first thing you do is put in the basin that you've just greased, you want half of the syrup. So about half of the syrup you want in there. Oh, the bowl that you're using needs to be one that's heat resistant as well, heat proof, so it don't break when it gets into the hot bowl. So we have a nice little dollop like so. Okay, and we put that to one side. Okay, so you want to lightly beat the eggs. Okay, so once you've got your lightly beaten eggs, you want to whisk in your mixing bowl. You want your butter, your sugar, and the rest of your golden syrup. And then you're going to beat it like you normally would as a standard cake until it's all light and fluffy. So you keep beating it until it's all mixed and it's all light and fluffy. Also, we're using less sugar because we've got the golden syrup in there, so it makes it's changing the recipe. Basically, instead of having 105 grams sugar, we've got 55. So see, it's all going light and fluffy now. Oh, I love golden syrup, but the smell is amazing. If you've got cooking butter, you're probably better off using that than margarine, but you can do it with margarine as well. So just keep mixing until it's all light and fluffy. Right, so when you get to the point where it's all light and creamy and fluffy, you want to mix in half of the eggs and half of the flour. So half of the eggs, and when I do the flour, I always sift it. It just helps with raising then mix that in. Then once that's all mixed, you add the rest of it. And what we're looking for is like a drop-in consistency, a really nice, smooth, droppy consistency. So for this bit, you can use a whisk. prefer metal bloom whisks, to be fair. Plastic ones just don't seem to be strong enough. Okay, so once all that's mixed in, you can then add the rest of the egg and sift in the remaining flour. Again, start off nice and gentle, as it will go everywhere. If you've got a machine, you can do it all in the machine as well, but as I said before, I haven't got one. Okay, so it's all coming together. It's a bit thick, so what I'm going to do is probably add 2 or 3 tablespoons of milk, just so it's a nice drop in, because that's a bit thick at the minute. So just add milk a bit at a time, and add that in. Again, mixing nice and gentle. That's it. I might need a bit more in a minute, but we'll have a look. So this is going to be steamed, so you also need some greaseproof paper, cling film, and tin foil. Again, still too thick, so I'm going to add a little bit more. It's always best to add it bit by bit, because once it's in, you can't take it out. Again, still slightly thick, so a little bit more. Just adding a little bit at a time. I think that may actually do it now. Lovely. So that's about the consistency I want, really. If you do happen to make it a little bit runny, you can always add a little bit of flour, again, a bit at a time, just to bring it back. But that's the kind of consistency I'm after. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I've got my bowl that I prepared with the syrup earlier. I'm just going to pour that into there. This takes about 1 hour and 45 minutes to cook, because it's being steamed rather than baked. A couple of centimetre gap on the top, just so that it can expand, obviously. Okay, so you want a bit of greaseproof paper. You're going to fold it in half one way, fold it in half the other, so that gives you a square, and then where the line comes up to the corner there, you want to fold it into a triangle. And again. Okay, then this allows you to measure quite easily how big you want. So I don't want it exact, I want it slightly bigger, about 2 centimetres bigger. So from the middle to the edge, about 2 centimetres. So I'm going to cut that off. gives me a nice round. Now on this bit we need space for the cake to grow, so what we're going to do, we're just going to make a fold in the middle about 1.5 centimetres like so. So when the cake gets bigger, that can open up. Then that's going to go on top there, like so. Alright, and then what you're going to want to do is get cling film. You can just do it with foil and tie string, but cling film's quite good as well. It stops it getting the water in, because obviously it's going to be steamed, so we don't want any water in there ideally. Cling film's always a nightmare in it when you want it. It always gets tangled up. So I'm going to put a couple of layers of cling film on. Again, it's got to have a bit of flex in it, so if it grows, it's got space to expand. I'm going to do 2 layers of that. Like so. That's all nicely tightly sealed. Again, I don't want any water getting in there at all. And then for the final touch, I'm going to get a bit of tin foil. Again, with the tin foil, we're going to do similar to what we did before. We're going to fold a little ridge line as such in the middle. So if it does swell, it's got room to grow without popping. I'm going to really tuck that in tight, because we don't want any water getting in there. When your pudding's all done, it should be looking something like that. Okay, so trick at the bottom. So what we need to do now, we need to put hot water in here, but we don't want the base of the pudding sitting right on the bottom. So we need to make some kind of trivet. If you've got a trivet, fantastic, or a heat-proof saucer, brilliant. I haven't got one, so I've got to make a trivet. So I'll show you. It's simple enough, just with a bit of tin foil. So you get a nice large lump of tin foil like so. Crunch it all up, and then just literally go round and round. If it's not big enough, we should make it a bit bigger, a bit more tin foil. Crunch it up. Just like so. And what we're going to do is that trivet I've just made is going to sit on there like that, and then the bowl is going to sit on top of that. You've got to make sure that the lid can still go on the pan. So I've made that a little bit too big. So to sort that, I'm just going to give it a bit of a squish, like so. Now hopefully the lid needs to fit quite firmly over the top, so it's there, like that. Okay, so we're going to fill up the basin. It's going to be like a bain-marie, so we're going to fill this up about halfway up the bowl and have that on heat. Alright, so it's going to be interesting. And you want this simmering, and you want to keep an eye on the water levels. You want it about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes simmering low, but you don't want it any higher than halfway up the basin. A little bit more, I think. And then if it does become short, then just top it up with a bit of hot water. Then once it's ready to go, there we go, it's about halfway up, I do believe. A little bit more won't hurt. Okay. So how are we looking? Probably a little bit more hot water in there, but I'm going to get that on the boil now. And that's just going to sit in there with a tight fitting lid. You just want to keep an eye on it. You don't want it on boiling, you want it on a medium-low heat, so it just simmers away. If it boils, it will dry out too quick and it will just make a mess. Yeah, so I'll get back to you once it's cooked. Turned it out on a plate. I'm just going to take the bowl off. Oh no, squashed it. Look at that. Work of art. Tasty.